Hello and welcome to the Damian+devlin Show. This is our review of American Satan, a 2017 film directed by Ash Alvidson and starring Andy Biersack, am I getting that right?
Andy Biersack, yeah.
Boo Boo Stewart, Ben Bruce, and Malcolm McDowell, to name a few. There's a lot of people in this movie.
Don't forget, Tory Black makes a cameo. And if you don't know who Tory Black is, don't Google Tory Black because you're going to get some very not safe for work search results. But if you do want to Google her, just make sure you're probably alone when you do so.
So she's a porn actress.
I never said that, but...
I did. Anyhow, this is a movie that just came out late last year. It only played in small theaters. It did play the circuit in a lot of film festivals where it got mixed reviews. Sometimes it won some awards. Other times people weren't too fond of it. So this was a movie that Damien actually picked. He actually told me about it, and it looked really interesting, and we found a copy, and we decided, why not? Let's interview, because a lot of people probably won't even know what this movie is, and, well, if this is your first time hearing about it, we are honored. But anyhow, yeah, it's basically a short story. It's a group that comes together and decides to sign a contract with the devil in order to make it big. I don't think that's a big spoiler. They mentioned that in the trailers and stuff.
Definitely right all over the trailer.
And basically, you know, they have their stream of success. And then, of course, when you deal with the devil, the problems come. But I won't go into that just yet. Anyhow, Damien, you wanted to see this. What was your initial feeling? Because we both went into this never seeing it. This is kind of cool.
Blind. Yeah, no, we've never done this before where neither of us have actually seen a movie.
Yeah, we usually one or the other or both of us seen it.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, I enjoyed the film. I will admit. There were some ups, there were some downs, but overall I enjoyed the film. The main reason I wanted to see this movie is because Andy Biersack, the main character, Johnny, he's actually the lead singer of a band that I like in real life called the Black Veil Brides. And so just knowing that he was in there, as well as there's a member, I cannot remember his name right now, but there's a member of a band called Asking Alexandria as well as their guitarist. He's in the movie as well. And so liking both bands, it was like, oh, okay, cool. I think, to my knowledge, this is their motion picture debut. I wouldn't mind checking it out. Plus it has to do with heavy metal rock and roll, which I'm a big fan of. So overall, I would say it's a pretty decent film. Yeah. What do you think about it?
I enjoyed a lot of it. There was a lot I didn't enjoy with it, but I've seen a lot of musical movies about, you know, rock and thing. So I had a lot to play against. I don't know how many you have seen in that. And so
first one ever.
This was kind of a movie that it was hard not to think of those others in the past, but I'll get to more of that in the negatives because there is quite a bit of positives I had for it, or at least a couple good ones.
All right.
Well, so let's go right into it.
Yeah, starting off, my positives. Overall, now, again, I'm not too sure if this is Andy Biersack's first acting performance, but I felt he did a fantastic job. He was very believable in his role. And just pretty much the entire cast, I felt was very, very believable. The only thing, and this isn't a negative. Actually, you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. It is a negative. I'm gonna hold off on it. And so overall, I felt the acting was pretty decent by pretty much everybody in the film. Shout out to just Denise Richards, who was the only one who didn't seem like she was interested in being in this movie at all. She kind of just was there and phoned it in. And at one point...
I'm the mom now. I'm not the good hot girl.
Yeah,
she was still hot, but she's the mom now.
She complete with like leopard print jacket at one point when she gets a brand new house. But yeah, she's the only one that I really had a problem with her acting. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I felt the music was pretty good for the most part. It was enjoyable. I found myself tapping my foot and bobbing my head quite a few times. Some of the set pieces were really exciting and engaging. And I liked a lot of the visuals too. There were a lot of captivating and engaging visuals. Not to mention, it was also pretty funny, like a film as well. Situations where I wouldn't normally find myself laughing. I found myself being like, oh my gosh, that's so quirky and weird that I laughed about it. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe that just shows the darker side of me, but I found it a pretty funny film as well. With regards to the positives, design for the clothing as well. They all fit the huge like rock and roll kind of vibe there. as well. I'm going to have to shout it out, but one of my favorite wrestlers, Bill Goldberg, shows up. And he doesn't have
very excited.
I was. I jumped up. I was like, that's Bill Goldberg. He doesn't like stick around long in the movie. He shows up here and there, but he's still an integral part of it for a few moments. I basically, for all you wrestling fans out there, I marked out for it. And yeah, no, overall, I would feel the storyline was pretty engaging. I didn't see the twist coming at the end. I know you did. You kind of had a feeling about it. But it shocked me and pleasantly, so I would say that gets a plus for me as well.
This is an unusual movie for me because a lot of the positives you're going to hear from me are probably also going to have the negative effect too.
See, it happened with me. I had to go. I had to slow myself down.
Because I did like a lot of the performances in this. Andy Biersack, I just found out I recognized him, but he also said that he also used to sing under the name Andy Black. And I love a lot of his stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I've seen his videos, so that's where I've seen him. I actually thought he was pretty good. He was pretty engaging, and, you know, he's good to look at as well, so that didn't hurt. I thought all the performances were good. Even Denise Richards, she did feel like she mailed it in, but she didn't really get a lot to do with, so she showed up. She got her paycheck. Good for you. The fact that this small little movie did get people like, you know, Malcolm McDowell in it was pretty good. For the most part, I thought Malcolm McDonald was my biggest problem. I'm a huge Malcolm McDowell fan, but the problem is he can really overdo it sometimes. And I don't know if he really got the essence of the character he plays, and I won't tell you what character he plays. But I think it also may have had something to do with the script. The director, I've never seen this guy. As I said, it could be his first film, Ash Alvidson. I think he hit some really good marks in it. I think there were some really interesting shots. I don't think they were very consistent, but there were moments that I said, wow, there's a lot of potential. I kept saying that a lot about this movie. In every aspect of my positives, I kept saying, look at the potential. And then I'll get to those in the negatives. But I actually thought the director was like, if this is like one of his first films, I thought he nailed some scenes that were really good. He also co-wrote the script. Not as big a fan of the script, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Overall, I anybody who knows me musically, I like all styles of music, and harder rock music is harder for me to get into, but I actually like a lot of it. And I think from what I got to hear, I really liked it, but that is going to be one of my big complaints. But I did overly like the songs that they chose for this, even the songs that the band didn't sing. But we're going to get into the negatives now, so unfortunately, I think I have more of them. But I was entertained. I didn't find it as funny as you, because I think back to the negatives. Why don't you take us into the negatives and then I'll go.
You're bursting. You go ahead.
No, I'm just...
Go ahead.
Do you want me to start with that? You want me to do my negatives?
I feel like if I do it first, you're going to literally burst. So you go ahead.
No, I have... Okay, the script was the biggest problem. They didn't know what tone was. Okay? Like, they didn't know if this was supposed to be a satire of rock music. They didn't know if they were, like, it was billed as a thriller drama, and I could see how they did that, because I kept thinking, I wish they could decide if they were, like, a drama or a satire, and you can have both, but I really felt that, like, two guys wrote this, and I really felt one guy wrote the dark stuff, and the other guy tried to put the funny stuff in. That was a big problem. Again, I said I really liked the lead actor, but his character was so badly written that I felt bad for him, because I think he has moments where he really shines, but I think the script lets him down because he doesn't get any real meat. He's this nice guy, but my biggest problem with him, and you're going to hate me for this, but it's a millennial thing.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
I think this movie works if it was done in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s, when there was naivety in devil music and hard rock and the hunger. I don't think there's a hunger as people do. Not to mention when people get into the music industry now, you know, this shows like basically I thought I was watching something from the 70s where, okay, we got to go to Hollywood. We got to play all the big bars and stuff. Nowadays, when you become a musician, you can use like social media. You can use, you know, people don't even worry about putting out an album. You can put stuff out online on YouTube or any of the streaming sites. But they were playing it up like we're an old-fashioned band. But my problem with the character Johnny was he never got into the situations himself. They always had him fall for somebody else. It was always like, this person led me down the wrong road. This woman made me do this. He never took responsibility. Even when a woman comes to him and wants to have sex with him for the first time, he has to be seduced. I wanted to see somebody who's supposed to be a lead singer of this devil music. I just feel that I want to see him be edgy and take it, but he's just like laid back, like, yeah, why don't you ride me? Because I don't want to do any of the work. Like, I felt this was the laziest rock band ever. They don't even know. They're writing songs blatantly about the devil, yet they're shocked when churches are outside picketing them because they listen to all this music, but they actually, oh my God, they're picketing us. There's a scene where they're actually shocked. If they listen to this music regularly, even if it's heavy, they should know that even like parents are like, so everything was so naive, everything was so lazy, and I didn't feel a hunger that they really wanted to it. But that's my biggest problem with this movie is it didn't, I've seen some great films about bands, even right up to last year when we saw Sing Street. The biggest problem I have with this movie is the music has to be the star. And I think they dropped the ball because every time they started singing a song, they would cut away from that song. I never saw moments where a song was the spotlight. And sometimes when it was like 18 in Life, which is an old Skid Row song, or that Korn song that you said. It wasn't the band playing it. These are just songs, but I felt they had showcase songs. I want to see this come out, and I didn't see that. And I think when you do a rock musical type thing, you need to see, as much as I thought this kid was cute, I never saw him write the songs with passion because I never got to see him perform them with passion because they would do quick edits and then they would move on to the story. Again, with Malcolm McDowell's character, he plays a very important part and I don't think he hits it. So I don't feel the urgency. When I get into a rock musical like this, I have to feel the rise and fall of the band. I always felt mediocre, and I don't want to put down the laid-back generation, but I felt that there was just no, even when they're doing hard drugs, it just seems like, yeah, could you do it for me? Like, no, you do it for yourself. Like, it was just like lazy, and that's some of the problems I had with this movie. But I really think the music should be the star of this. Even the concert scenes, I should just be falling in love with watching him. And every time that I almost did, they'd cut away or go to a storyline I didn't care about. And I'm like, let's just spend some time listening to this song a little more. I want to see the band, because I think the band had lots of potential, like all of them. Every single one of them. We never got to see it. The quick edits, they should have just let the music have a little bit of time. Anyhow, I will let you go.
Well, now that you're done trashing on millennials.
No, I'm not. I think back in a time when people seem like starving artists more, they don't seem like starving artists in this.
There's a point that you made that they don't try to push on social media, and I think that you're wrong in that, but I don't think it's your fault for being wrong in that, because it's only mentioned at one time during this film that their music video was on YouTube.
Which they never showed.
They showed the last 2
seconds.
2 seconds of the YouTube video, and they're like, oh, it just surpassed like 1 million views.
Yeah.
And that's all the mention of social media. So I do think the social media juggernaut was going on in the background, but you're right about that they didn't bring it so much to the forefront that it's literally, you could miss it if you blinked. So I think that's where...
If they actually made this movie in the 70s or the 80s, I probably would have bought it more.
Probably, and I agree with you. The more that you talked about it, the more you're right. It does feel like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of naivety there that there shouldn't be because it's set in modern times. But I do have to come to its defense and say the social media aspect is there. It's just in the background.
Yeah, funerals and...
That's right.
Inappropriate times.
Inappropriate times to text at a funeral. Don't do it. So, going into my negatives, the very biggest thing that I have to say about this film is the fact that they don't let Andy Biersack actually sing the songs.
I was going to say that, but I knew you'd bring it up. So you're a bigger fan. I thought I'd give that to you.
The moment they started playing a song that this band performed, I knew as a fan of Black Veil Brides, as a fan of Andy Biersack, that this was not his voice. Andy Biersack has a very deep voice that is so distinct that you would know it's him. And as soon as I don't even know who the person is.
I just saw the name and I can't remember it.
Like Remington Steele.
It is. You're right. It's you go. Continue. I'm going to read. Maybe they'll say it here.
I don't think so, but
okay, then
it's just some guy from another band that does the voice.
It's Remington something. You're definitely right.
It's not Remington Steele. I think that's Pierce Brosnan.
Yes.
But it's not Andy Biersack, and that's a problem with me because he's got such a phenomenal range and voice.
Yeah.
And you, as a fan of him under his Andy Black pseudonym, it was just a real disappointment to me. And I didn't say anything during the film because I didn't want to ruin that.
No, and you didn't, and I didn't know. I did not know because I didn't know that was Andy Black at the time.
So that's a negative to me that they didn't let this kid sing, and he did start to sing under his own real voice at one point in the film. They cut him off, and then they made him do it again, and then it was the voice recorder. And I felt, as an artist, if that were me, as a rock artist in a rock film, and they said, no, we're not going to use your real voice, I would have been offended. I would have been like, well, why not? Like, I've sold millions of albums worldwide. Why can't you use my voice for this role? So I don't know how Andy Biersack felt about that, but I would have been offended. With regards to that, I'm totally 100% in agreement with you that the music should have been the star of this movie. I wanted to listen to the songs. I wanted to know why this band got so popular in the universe that they exist in. Obviously, it's got to do something with good music. And they would play parts of songs, and I was like, yeah, I'm getting into this. And then suddenly, we're looking at his mom again. Suddenly, we're looking at other characters. So that was a real disappointment to me that they didn't show us an actual full song of this band. And you're right, they had cover versions of other songs that took more center stage than this actual band. The band's name...
So go ahead. I just want to make a clip.
Yeah, go.
But say the band's name first.
The band's name is American Satan, but we never hear anything really full in volume from American Satan.
Actually, that's the name of their first album. It's The Relentless.
That's right. The band's name is The Relentless, and their album's American Satan.
I will say one thing. In the first time they show the recording studio, they show him sing with his real voice. They actually let us hear a little bit of a song, and you get to hear it a little bit. That's the closest time that they let you in. But they even cut that a little too close, and that is a moment that they came really close to getting it, and we needed to see more of that. Go right ahead.
So I have a problem with Denise, what's her name?
Richards,
Richards.
yes.
Yeah, I have a problem with her. She's there. She's Andy Biersack's Johnny. His character's name is Johnny. She's his mom. And there's a really traumatic moment that happens in the movie where she comes up with some health issues. And he nails it. You could see that he's upset and shocked and worried about it. And she's just like, yeah, I'll call you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't even care.
You'll be seeing that in a movie just coming up soon. Even worse.
And then she just never brings it up again, except for like 2 seconds later. Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah.
But like, she doesn't care, and like, nobody ever brings it up again. Like, oh my gosh, like, you're my mom. You're the only stability I have in my life, and you could potentially die. But it's okay. It's fine. We move on from that. So that bothered me. Like I said, I felt like she kind of just phoned it in. Like, hi, I'm Denise Richards.
Remember I've told you in scripts where they just put people in order to make the main character look more nice? Like, they spend so much time letting us know Johnny's a really nice guy and we want you to forgive him for stuff later, but he never gets to that evil part because they're too busy trying to remind us how nice a guy he is. Why couldn't he be a little bit more? I think that's where you sign on with the devil. That's when you're at your lowest point. I never felt it.
They touched on it when they first signed the deal.
But we'll get... Can I say something about that deal and then let you go on?
You go right ahead.
That was also bull crap, we'll go with. Because you see, I was actually shocked how quickly they turn to sign with. And they have to do something that's really shocking when I saw it. And when they started going through with it, I thought to myself, oh my God, I don't think this was justified. I don't think they're hungry enough to do what the devil wants them to do to get this. And then we get to see their good side again, but they still get the contract because of a twist, because again, they're too lazy to do it themselves, but they have to have a movie. Again, I'm so saddened by how lazy they tried to make these people look. They actually, movies where you sign with the devil, people sign. They don't. They get it on a technicality. I promise I'll be good now.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right. So moving on from there, I felt that it did have a lot of potential. It really, really did. I'm on the opposite spectrum of you. I think Malcolm McDowell's portrayal of his character was really good. I felt intimidated at times. I felt on the edge. I felt basically that he did really nail his performance on it. Now, you know Malcolm McDowell better than I do because you've seen him in more movies, but basically just having seen him a little bit in A Clockwork Orange as well as this one, to my knowledge, I don't know of any other Malcolm McDowell movies that I've seen, but I feel like he nails it in this movie. Now, with regards to the whole millennials are lazy thing,
I didn't say they are. I said they are portrayed in this movie.
I don't think so, because it goes to an overextending amount that shows these guys, they go on tour, a worldwide tour, and they're just constantly doing show after show after show after show after show after show, to the point where even their manager, who is played by Rick Rubin, by the way, who is a real-life music producer, he says that they're strung out and they need to take a break. His mom, even, Denise Richards, says, you worked 9 days in a row and they're only giving you 3 days off before you go on another 9-day binge? Like, they work hard for what they have got. They want to perform for the fans that they've earned.
But in a rock movie, we should see them on stage, not show up at a venue. We're canceled again. Let's go to a bar. Let's see a montage of them playing these venues. That's what a rock and roll movie does. They don't. We've canceled you. Okay, let's go to a bar and maybe we'll play there. No, we won't. We'll get into a bar fight. Again, the music is nowhere to be found.
Well,
how is that working hard?
I disagree with you there again.
Of course.
No, they even made a point to show like the venues that they're playing in, and so on and so forth, all across the United States. They even showed like a list for their world tour of places that they were going to, and it shows you that they went to these places.
Because it was written right on the screen.
But they still went. All right, so like whatever.
It was half canceled.
Whatever.
If you want to get technical, they do get canceled.
So that's my disagreements with you. Another like negative that I have. So there are two major ones in particular. One is the gratuitous amount of sex.
Oh, I like that. Except it was lazy sex.
Oh my God.
Because the women were doing all the work. Because they know that's a man's fantasy.
Oh, come on, give me.
But a real rocker would be working. They'd be working together, having a good time.
So, the gratuitous amount of sex, I just felt they threw it in there because sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Right, but it doesn't fit into a millennium rock story. If it was the 70s,
because us millennials, we don't like to have sex.
No, you do, but I think you'd be playing video games more, rather, of sex, you know.
I beg your pardon. No, we wouldn't. I guarantee you that we do it much better than your lazy generation did.
We're not talking about us having sex.
Let's get into it here. We're talking about sex. At least the millennial generation of women know what an orgasm is. Take that, Gen X and baby boomers. Moving on. The gratuitous amount of sex, that was a negative for me. I just felt, again, they threw it in there because of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And then one scene that was really awkward for me was there's this mom and her daughter, and her mom pays for these VIP tickets, and she is fully okay with sending her daughter into the bus to lose her virginity to one of the band members. Like,
and a shocking scene clip that they showed that I don't think was necessary. In fact, it was the edgiest thing I saw in this movie, but since this movie wasn't really edgy, it really felt forced. That felt really forced.
It was unnecessary.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it was kind of tasteless.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just, the whole scene was awkward. And to boot it all off, to make it even more awkward, was the fact that the mom's completely okay with this. The daughter knows what she wants and what she's doing. And then the daughter comes out after having sex with one of the band members to see her mom having sex with another one of the band members, and she has a fit. Like, what are you doing, Mom? Like, what did you do? Why are you throwing a fit? Why? It just, unnecessary. It just made it so weird. So that scene at all, I felt like the movie did not need that scene at all. It was just unnecessary, it was tasteless, it was crass, it was awkward, it was just bad.
Yeah.
Overall, though, I would say it was an enjoyable from start to finish. There were some highs, there were some lows, but overall, I enjoyed the experience.
All right. So we got numbers.
I will give
0
this.
to 5.
I will give this. I had to think about it during the movie. Like, what am I giving this? And at times, I rated it higher, and then I rated it lower,
So it was all over
and
the
then
place.
I rated it higher again because of something. Then I rated it lower. So I came to a solid conclusion. I'm giving this a 3. I gave it a 3 out of 5.
All right. I've been going back and forth on it. I can't go higher than half, but I'm not sure if I want to go full half. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna go 2. 2 out of 5 on this one.
So you didn't like it that much.
I like. It had lots of potential, but as I
did.
said, lots of potential. But I think they failed. I think. If this movie was set or filmed, and I'm not saying, I just think it was a different time back in the 60s and 70s. And I just think it would have worked better because I think they were so hungry they would want it. I'm not saying millenniums aren't. I just think millenniums also work hard to get what they want. And I don't think they would just sign with the devil after having one really bad setback.
I would agree with you there.
So,
I would agree.
And if I have offended millennials, please know I know many of them that I think are not lazy at all. I'm just saying that, like, even the quotes in this movie, they do quotes from rock stars. They're all rock stars
hold on.
from
Those
another
quotes,
generation.
Those quotes, hold on, I had to touch on those quotes.
Yes,
because,
oh God, I brought something up.
No, you reminded me. There's these quotes at the end of the movie in the credits, and they start off really small, really condensed, and suddenly the whole screen's filled with the quote, and I have to read all of it, and I'm trying to read it quickly so that I can read the whole thing before it goes to the next one. I thought that was a little
But all
silly.
those quotes are from classic artists from the 70s, 80s. I think there was a couple of 90s in there. But again, this movie seems like they tried to capture that feel of an earlier time and fit it into this generation. I don't think it worked, but I'd still enjoyed it. I'd watch it again, and yeah, I'd like to see more from the director and Andy Biersack, because I think if he could do a lot.
I'm just hoping, because I feel like he did a good acting job in this, and I agree with you that maybe the script let him down. I'm just hoping that his acting career isn't hampered because of it, that's all. But his musical career, in case you're curious, is I personally think it's fantastic. He's gotten better with age. He's like a fine wine. He's a year older than I am, which makes me kind of jealous, because I could be out there living the life of a rock star, but I can't perform or do anything like that. As
You're living the life of a movie reviewer.
Oh, look at that. That's something
go.
that Andy Biersack don't have, so there we go. As always, though, thanks so much for joining us. We definitely enjoy having you here with us. Have you seen American Satan? Let us know. Comment and tell us what you thought about it. Did you like it?
You may have to search it out. Yeah.
It is an indie film. You might have to search it up, but it's definitely worth a watch if you ask me. But subscribe so that you always find out what we're going to be doing next. You never know. It's kind of like a box of chocolates. Is that a hint for next time? You never know. As always, guys, we will see you next time.